Hello guys, so the Sinquefield Cup has just started and round 1 just ended and we got two games that I'm going to show you. Game 1, Nodirbrek Abbusttarov versus Levon Aronian, and Praggnanandhaa Rameshbabu-1 versus Gukesh Dommaraju-0. And I think it's pronounced Dommaraju, maybe. So without further ado, let's begin. Nodirbrek started the game with d4. Levon replied e6, c4, knight f6, c3, b4, bishop b4. This is the Nimzo Indian defense. It's a quite complicated setup to handle if you don't actually know what you're doing. But the idea is to pin the knight and then play like d5 as and then so that you have d5 as an option, because takes and you can't take because it's a pin. Now e3 was played. Castles, knight e2, c6. Is just preparing for further d5 possibly, and also knight e2 was to make sure that if you take, you could take, but then you just lose the bishop, and it's generally not good to trade a bishop for a knight if there's no reason to. Like here, trading the bishop for the knight would have been like an okay move. If a3, then take the knight, because it's check, so they take back, right? And then you have two doubled pawns and this pawn, which leaves the b2 pawn, it's not on b2 anymore, it's on c3, and this entire queenside pawn structure isn't gonna really work out in the end game. Now a3 is good because if takes, just takes and there's no stuff. So Levon moved the bishop back, and bishop d7, preparing for something like this. I don't really know, but okay, now d5 is played. Knight g3, knight bd7, c takes d5, e takes d5, bishop d3, rook e8, castles, and bishop c7. Attack, putting pressure on this g3 knight. Queen c2, knight f8, f3, h5, and you could argue that this is where the development finishes. Rook a e1 and h4. The idea of h5 was obviously to attack the knight, and Nodirbrek moved the knight to h1, to get this kind of piece cube and stop lots of possible checks. Also, g3 is an idea to get the knight back on g3. Knight e6, knight f2, queen d6, and f4. The computer says this is great because, takes here, and then you have a queen pointing at this h2 pawn, but that's quite complicated to understand. Now we have bishop d7, queen d1, a5, e4, d takes e4, knight takes the f knight takes e4, the knight takes e4, knight takes e4, queen takes d4, check. Here is a couple of options. There's bishop e3, the computer's top choice. Or there's knight f2 and rook e3. All are perfectly good, although bishop e3 is clearly the best because it attacks the queen and blocks the check. Another great move by Nodirbrek Abbusttarov. And now queen d5, f5, pushing the knight back, and we get queen to g4. The double exclamation mark on that move. The reason why it's a double exclamation mark is because it's quite complicated, but the computer says it's because of queen g4, knight h7, bishop to b1, putting it back on the back rank, rook e5, knight c3, knight c3, queen to d6, bishop d4 or rook d1. For this I'll show rook d1, let's say, and then rook to d5, queen takes h4, rook takes d1, rook takes d1, queen to f6, and well, it's like 40 moves long, but what did we get up to? Queen f6. If I can find queen f6. Yeah, so queen f6, queen h5, bishop e8, rook f1, bishop d8, rook e1, queen h4, queen takes h4, bishop takes h4, bishop f2, bishop f2 check, king f2, knight f6, king f3, b5, g4, b4, knight e4, knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, b takes a3, b takes a3, rook d8. And white is winning in this position, because this is an endgame, and white can push these pawns up the board and like play a4 to stop this pawn, and then rook c, and then trap the rook, and then like just push the pawns all the way through, and you're basically guaranteed a queen. Well, no, you're not guaranteed, but it's possible. Oh, I don't know. Back to this position. After the brilliant queen g4, knight h7, bishop e1, g6, was not what the computer liked, but it is what it is. Queen takes h4, bishop takes f5, knight g5, and now knight takes g5. It's a great by Levon. So, by now you may be thinking, wow, Levon is clearly winning, and if you are thinking that, well, you are correct. He's up 4 points temporarily up 4 points of material, and also because if you look, he has 36 minutes on the clock. Nodirbrek only has 5 minutes, and they have to get to move 40 to start gaining time. So Nodirbrek has to play quick. Rook takes f5, queen d6 pushes the game back to a draw. Queen takes g5 is okay, but now in this position, Levon fought for some time, and he said to himself, why don't I sacrifice the rook? Rook takes e3. The second brilliant of the game. The first one was by Nodirbrek though, but like now we have a second brilliant move, and the point of rook takes a3 is to accept the sacrifice. Bishop e6, rook f3, queen d1 check, king f2, you get the bishop, and some other stuff happens that is just like, and then you do have to lose the pawn, but you do end up in a winning position. But obviously everything the computer says does not happen, because these people aren't computers, they're people. And which is why what happened was queen takes a3, g takes f5, g3 f4, and now we have g takes f4, queen h6, king h1, bishop takes f4, and then queen e2. Queen e2, the point of queen e2 is to defend the checkmate, but it's not the best move to defend the checkmate. What would have been better is, I think the computer liked queen g1 because it's a check, but the computer said this was a mistake. Rook d8, bishop a2, queen h4, rook f1, b5, a4, king f8. This position is negative 1.8. Queen c2 happened, and then we had small b, not big B, takes on a4, and then we have queen c5, rook d6. Well, you can't take because of the bishop, but it's the best move and the only move, because if you play anything, if you like go here or something, then that's just like, why would you do that? I don't know. But and then we have queen c2 to defend against the mate, but this is a mistake because of rook f6, rook f2 to try and set up a battery on the h2 square. And if you thought, wow, 2 brilliants in a game, this stuff never happens. Well, you know what's even rarer? 3 brilliants! And in this position, Nodirbrek Abbusttarov resigned the game, 'cause he's going to lose the rook. Let's say you move the king here. Now there's mate in 7, which he obviously saw. And let's say you take the bishop. Now there's mate in 8, which he also saw. And let's say you do a random move, like, I don't know, taking the rook, then you lose the rook because discovered check, you have to move the king, you lose the rook. Well, don't listen to the computer, but I'm sure Nodirbrek saw this, and that's why he resigned. And that was just one of the games that happened in round 1. 2 Indian teenage superstars battled against each other. Praggnanandhaa Rameshbabu and Gukesh Dommaraju-0. And in this game, Praggnanandhaa destroyed Gukesh. Not only did Praggnanandhaa win, Praggnanandhaa did it with 100% accuracy. So this is the theory, another Nimzo Indian, and we have E3 castles, d3, and all of this stuff, which you mainly saw in the last game. Here they traded queens, and rook e1, bishop takes e5, given the brilliant, simply just because Praggnanandhaa was up a pawn here, so you trade the queens first, and then you gain your pawn back. Bishop e2, knight c6, b4, a7, bishop e2, rook d8. They don't, in this position, Praggnanandhaa is winning, but he is only winning if he trades the rooks. He doesn't trade the rooks. Knight e5, bishop d7. Gukesh finds a way to keep his rook on the board. Knight takes d7, knight takes d7. Praggnanandhaa played knight to e4. This has a double attack on the d6 square, which is just in front of the knight and the rook. Knight b6, Gukesh wants to trade the rooks. That doesn't happen. Knight c5, attacking this pawn. Like, you have to play rook b8 or something. Gukesh does play rook a b8 because it's 2 rooks on the same rank. Now there's a check. Trying to win a pawn, the b7 pawn, by attacking the rook, and Praggnanandhaa is successful, I think. Well, he's not successful because the knight defends, but he moves the knight out of its defense and takes the pawn. Now he's just up a pawn, and we have bishop f1, g4, rook c1, knight d4, a4, f6, e5, knight a7. Praggnanandhaa has the computer gives Praggnanandhaa a +4 advantage. Praggnanandhaa plays bishop d6, knight a6, b5, a takes b5, a takes b5, bishop d6. Gukesh, there's nothing he can do here. He resigns after knight c5 because, Praggnanandhaa is either going to promote, so Gukesh's rook has to stay on the back rank, or Praggnanandhaa is going to take this pawn and then push, and you can't stop this fortress. Which is why Praggnanandhaa resigned. Gukesh resigned, and well, that's all for today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I shall see you in the next video. Goodbye.